Quick, to the Batmobile. Let's revisit the original Gotham champion and the rest of the Batman crew. Back in the day, the zap wham action was pulse-pounding stuff. But whether you tuned into this series and found the whimsical nature amusing, or you were captivated by a universe of heroes and villains, there's truly no incorrect method to appreciate 1966's Batman, especially with its legendary ensemble. Featuring the iconic Adam West and Burt Ward, there was nothing more exhilarating than witnessing this crime-fighting duo confront their adversaries with gizmos and attire aplenty. Today we're journeying back to Gotham City to discover what the original Batman cast pursued after retiring their cowls. Alan Napier as Alfred. Alfred is Batman's faithful servant and confidant. He's the only one privy to the true identities of Batman, Robin, and Batgirl. Albert Napier was a relative of the former British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain. While his career in cinema commenced in England in 1930, it wasn't until he relocated to Hollywood in 1941 that he began to garner recognition, notably for his portrayal of the menacing Earl of Warwick in 1948's Joan of Arc and his appearances in Hitchcock's Presence in the late 50s. Then, in 1964, he portrayed Mr. Rutland in Hitchcock's Marnie. The subsequent year, Napier became the initial actor cast in the Batman series. Surprisingly, he hadn't even perused the comics before accepting the role. Nevertheless, he proved to be an impeccable Alfred. So much so that in 1989, as a tribute, Jack Nicholson's Joker was christened Jack Napier. Napier tied the knot twice. His second spouse, Aileen Dickens Hawksley, was a descendant of the esteemed novelist Charles Dickens. Hawksley's daughter from a previous marriage, the actress Jennifer Rain, was the mother of former child actor Brian Forster, famed for his portrayal of Chris Partridge on the 1970s TV series The Partridge Family. Alan suffered a stroke in 1987 and passed away a few months later in August of '88. He was 85 years old. Neil Hamilton as Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Gordon served as one of Batman's primary police allies. Gordon was responsible for contacting Batman using the bat phone or bat signal. Neil Hamilton approached the role with seriousness, reportedly urging his fellow actors to adopt a more solemn demeanor rather than indulging in the appropriate humor. Hamilton was an experienced actor, appearing in both silent films and talkies. He gained recognition for his role in the 1930 film The Dawn Patrol, directed by Howard Hawks. Fans of Tarzan may recall his portrayal of Harry Holt in the 1932 film Tarzan the Ape Man. He reprised the role 2 years later in Tarzan and His Mate. Following a decline in film opportunities, he transitioned to television, making appearances in series such as 7 episodes of Perry Mason and 5 episodes of 77 Sunset Strip. His final acting role was in the 1970 film Which Way to the Front, directed by and starring Jerry Lewis. Hamilton passed away in September of 1984 at the age of 85. Madge Blake as Mrs. Cooper, Dick Grayson's maternal aunt. She made her debut in the comics 2 years prior to the series premiere, adding a layer of secrecy to Bruce and Dick's double lives. She didn't pursue acting until she turned 50, when she enrolled at the Pasadena Playhouse, leveraging any connections or influence she had, likely from Milburn Stone, to secure acting opportunities. Blake portrayed the effusive gossip columnist Dora Bailey in Singin' in the Rain, 1952. In the mid-1950s, she appeared on Rod Cameron's City Detective and in Ray Milland's sitcom Meet Mr. McNutley, later renamed The Ray Milland Show in its second season. Due to declining health, Blake's portrayal of Aunt Harriet was scaled back, and with the introduction of Batgirl in Batman's third and final season, she made guest appearances in only 2 episodes. Shortly before her passing, she played Mrs. Hardy in an episode titled The Con Man of the CBS sitcom The Doris Day Show. Blake was admitted to Huntington Memorial Hospital, where she passed away at age 69 due to a heart attack. Adam West as Batman. We're all aware of the significance of Bruce Wayne, but the pivotal role Adam West played in this series cannot be emphasized enough. He was the main protagonist, but more importantly, he served as the consistent foil for Robin's humorous remarks and the bizarre antics of the villains. West handled it all with ease as he adeptly utilized his utility belt to tackle challenges. In 1964, West appeared in Robinson Crusoe on Mars, a groundbreaking sci-fi film. Then, it was time to combat crime, which was immensely enjoyable. Producer William Dozier selected him for the role of Bruce Wayne, partly due to a Nestlé Quick commercial parody reminiscent of James Bond. The 1966 Batman movie premiered just 2 months after the conclusion of the first season. West agreed to it on the condition of receiving more screen time as Bruce Wayne. In 1980, West was involved in The Happy Hooker Goes Hollywood, a regrettable venture. However, in 1982, he starred in the horror film One Dark Night, which had a classic feel and was relatively decent. Nevertheless, Adam remained committed to his crime-fighting duties, lending his voice to Batman in numerous animated shows like Super Friends and the Super Powers Team. During his leisure time, West enjoyed fishing, hiking, and spending time with his family, often accompanied by his longtime friend Van Williams, who portrayed the Green Hornet in Batman and its spin-off series. The two even lived as neighbors for a period. Adam had 4 children and was married 3 times, all of whom mourned his passing in June 2017 from leukemia. He was 88 years old, and in honor of his memory, the city of Los Angeles projected the Bat Signal onto City Hall. Yvonne Craig as Batgirl. Batgirl is the daughter of Commissioner Gordon and joins Batman and Robin as a crime-fighting ally in the 3rd season. She also owned a motorcycle that garnered admiration from all Batman viewers. One of Yvonne Craig's early acting roles was alongside Neil Hamilton in an episode of Perry Mason from 1958, titled The Case of the Lazy Lover. She also appeared in Sandra Dee's Gidget in 1959. Later, she co-starred with Elvis Presley in 2 films. It Happened at the World's Fair in 1963 and Kissin' Cousins the following year. In addition to her portrayal of Batgirl, she is also remembered for her role as a green-skinned Orion slave girl in Star Trek. She followed in the footsteps of Susan Oliver, who played a similar role in the pilot episode of Star Trek. Yvonne authored an autobiography in 2000 titled From Ballet to the Batcave and Beyond, and her final acting appearance was as the voice of Grandma in the animated series Olivia. Sadly, Yvonne passed away in 2015 at the age of 78 from breast cancer. Stafford Rep as Chief O'Hara, Gotham City's police chief and Batman's other main police ally. Semple introduced the character for the series as a counterpart for Gordon to converse with, later briefly incorporated into the comics. In 2013, DC Comics disclosed that this rendition's given name was Miles in their Batman 66 comic series. At the outset of his acting career, Rep featured in various film and television productions, including the movies I Want to Live, 1958, alongside Susan Hayward, and The Brothers Karamazov, both released in 1958. Concurrently, he began appearing in a series of early TV programs from the mid-1950s to the early 1960s, such as NBC's Western anthology series Frontier and the Barry Sullivan, Clu Gulager Western, The Tall Man. His final film release was Linda Lovelace for President in 1975. He made a posthumous appearance in Mannix, airing 2 months after his passing. His last television role was on the series Mass H as a military police officer, broadcast 4 months after his demise. Rep was married and had 5 children. He passed away at the age of 56 on November 5, 1974, in Inglewood, California. Burgess Meredith as the Penguin. Meredith portrayed the impeccable Penguin and appeared to thoroughly enjoy the role, even perfecting that famous penguin waddle. Burgess Meredith is also widely recognized for his portrayal of trainer Mickey Goldsmith in the Rocky series, and he featured in the 1981 Grand Clash of the Titans. He ventured into Norman Lear's realm for Archie Bunker's Place and continued on as a main cast member in the short-lived Gloria spin-off. Meredith exchanged vows 4 times. His initial spouse, Helen Darby Berrien Meredith, daughter of American cyanamide President Harry L. Darby, tragically took her own life in 1940, nearly 5 years after their divorce. His subsequent 2 wives, Margaret Perry and Paulette Goddard, were both actresses. Unfortunately, Goddard suffered a miscarriage in 1944. Meredith's final marriage to Kaya Sunston lasted 46 years and brought forth 2 children, Jonathan, a musician, and Tala, a painter. The 2-time Academy Award-nominated Meredith passed away in 1997 from complications related to Alzheimer's. He was 89 years old. Cesar Romero as the Joker. The Joker served as Batman's ultimate nemesis, and his iconic Joker laugh was unexpectedly born. Romero stumbled upon conceptual art of the Joker's attire, finding it so outrageously flamboyant that he burst into laughter. A producer exclaimed, "That's it! That's your Joker's laugh!" He embraced it so fervently that he claimed his genuine laughter started to adopt its cadence. Romero was so renowned that he adamantly refused to shave off his mustache for the role, opting instead to cover it with makeup. Among his numerous notable roles was his portrayal of Duke Santos in the original Ocean's 11. One of his later engagements included over 50 appearances in Falcon Crest during the late 80s. There had been long-standing speculation about Romero's sexual orientation, as he never married nor had children. Following his passing, a book titled Hollywood Gaze was published in 1996, claiming that Romero had privately disclosed his sexuality in interviews with the author. The esteemed Cesar Romero passed away in January 1994 at the age of 86. Both Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger have acknowledged Romero's brilliance as a significant influence on their own interpretations of the Joker. Frank Gorshin as the Riddler. His portrayal of the Riddler remains unmatched, showcasing a notably menacing laugh. Due to conflicting schedules, John Astin, renowned for his role as Gomez in The Addams Family, stepped in for Gorshin during the 2nd season of the series. In his later years, Gorshin took on the iconic comedian George Burns in the Broadway solo production Say Goodnight, Gracie, 2002, earning a Tony Award nomination for Best Play in 2003. He also reunited with several of his Batman co-stars in the television movie Return to the Batcave, The Misadventures of Adam and Bert, appearing as himself. Gorshin passed away on the same day the telefilm was released on DVD. On April 8, 1957, Gorshin tied the knot with Christina Randazzo. They shared a son named Mitchell and eventually separated, although they remained legally married until his passing. Gorshin's final live performance was in Memphis, where he portrayed George Burns in Say Goodnight, Gracie. Following the show, he boarded a flight to Los Angeles on April 25, 2005. However, he encountered severe breathing difficulties during the journey, prompting the crew to administer emergency oxygen. Upon landing in Burbank, he was rushed to a nearby hospital, where he succumbed to lung cancer, complicated by emphysema and pneumonia, 3 weeks later on May 17, 2005, at the age of 72, Julie Newmar as the Catwoman. The amazing Julie Newmar portrayed Catwoman during the initial 2 seasons. Eartha Kitt assumed the role for the 3rd season, while Lee Merriweather played Catwoman in the 1966 film adaptation of the series. Newmar made appearances in minor roles and went uncredited in films as a dancer, including portraying the dancer assassin in Slaves of Babylon, 1953, and the Gilded Girl in Serpent of the Nile, 1953, where she was covered in gold paint. She also appeared in several other films, such as The Bandwagon, 1953, and Demetrius and the Gladiators, 1954. In 2003, Newmar made a cameo as herself in the television movie Return to the Batcave, The Misadventures of Adam and Bert, alongside former Batman co-stars Adam West, Burt Ward, Frank Gorshin, and Lee Merriweather. Julia Rose portrayed Newmar in flashbacks, depicting the production of the television series. Following a broken engagement with novelist Louis L'Amour and relationships with comedian Mort Saul and actor Ken Scott, Newmar tied the knot with J. Holt Smith, an attorney, on August 5, 1977, and relocated with him to Fort Worth, Texas. They parted ways in 1984. She is the mother of John Jewel Smith, who has both a hearing impairment and Down syndrome. Newmar suffers from Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, a hereditary neurological disorder affecting approximately 1 in 2,500 Americans. Vincent Price as Egghead, a conceited, bald-headed mastermind whose criminal activities and way of speaking often revolve around eggs. Price began his career in movies as a supporting actor. He made his first appearance in the film Service de Luxe, 1938, and gained recognition in the film Laura, 1944, starring alongside Gene Tierney, directed by Otto Preminger. In 1982, Price lent his voice as the narrator in Vincent, a 6-minute film by Tim Burton about a young boy who transitions from reality to a fantasy world where he embodies Vincent Price. During the same year, Price contributed the spoken-word segment in the Michael Jackson song Thriller, and portrayed Sir Despard Murgatroyd in a television adaptation of Gilbert and Sullivan's Ruthergore. Price exchanged vows 3 times. His initial marriage was in 1938 to former actress Edith Barrett. They had a son, poet and columnist Vincent Barrett Price. Edith and Price ended their marriage in 1948. Price married Mary Grant in 1949, and they welcomed a daughter, motivational speaker Victoria Price, on April 27, 1962, naming her after Price's first significant success in the play, Victoria Regina. The union lasted until 1973. He tied the knot with Australian actress Coral Brown in 1974. She had portrayed one of his victims in Theatre of Blood, 1973. Their marriage lasted until her passing in 1991. Price battled chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and Parkinson's disease. His conditions worsened significantly during the filming of Edward Scissorhands, leading to adjustments in his filming schedule. His illnesses also played a role in his decision to retire from mystery in 1989. He passed away at the age of 82 from lung cancer on October 25, 1993, at his residence in Los Angeles, California. Anne Baxter as Olga. An antagonist from Russia frequently paired with Egghead. Prior to this role, Baxter made her debut in a single story as Zelda the Great, a criminal magician. At the age of 16, Baxter auditioned for the part of Mrs. De Winter in the film Rebecca. Director Alfred Hitchcock deemed Baxter too youthful for the role, but she soon signed a 7-year deal with 20th Century Fox. In 1940, she was loaned to MGM for her inaugural film 20 Mule Team, where she was credited as the 4th lead after Wallace Beery, Leo Carrillo, and Marjorie Rambeau. During the 1970s, Baxter made frequent appearances and served as a guest host on The Mike Douglas Show. She portrayed a homicidal movie star in an episode of Columbo titled Requiem for a Falling Star. In 1971, she played a character in Fool's Parade, depicting an aging sex worker. In 1983, Baxter headlined the TV series Hotel, taking over the role from the iconic former co-star Bette Davis, star of All About Eve, after Davis fell ill. Baxter suffered a stroke on December 4, 1985, while attempting to hail a taxi on Madison Avenue in New York City. She remained on life support for 8 days at New York's Lenox Hill Hospital until relatives agreed that brain function had ceased. She passed away on December 12 at the age of 62. Cliff Robertson as Shame. A Western-themed character whose villainous associates include Okie Annie and Calamity Jan at different times. Together, they parody renowned Western figures from the cinema. Robertson made his debut in the film Picnic, 1955, helmed by Logan. In the movie, Robertson portrayed the best friend of William Holden, a role initially played on stage by Paul Newman. However, Newman, who was contracted to Warner Brothers at the time of filming, was deemed too prominent a star to reprise his stage role. Charlie was produced by ABC Pictures, which insisted that Robert Aldrich cast Robertson in Too Late the Hero, 1970, a war film featuring Michael Caine that failed to perform well at the box office. Despite being offered roles in the Anderson tapes, Straw Dogs, prior to Peckinpah's involvement, and Dirty Harry, Robertson declined. Instead, he co-wrote, starred in, and directed J.W. Coupe, 1972, another commercially disappointing film despite receiving positive reviews. In 1957, Robertson wed actress Cynthia Stone, who was previously married to actor Jack Lemmon. They had a daughter, Stephanie, before divorcing in 1959. Robertson also became a stepfather to Stone's son, Chris Lemmon. In 1966, he married actress and heiress Dina Merrill, who was previously married to Stanley M. Rumbo, Jr. They welcomed a daughter, Heather, 1968-2007, before parting ways. Through this marriage, Robertson also gained stepchildren Stanley Hutton Rumbo, David Post Rumbo, and Nadinia Colgate Rumbo. He resided in Watermill, New York. On September 10, 2011, one day after celebrating his 88th birthday, Robertson passed away from natural causes in Stony Brook, New York. Carolyn Jones as Marcia, Queen of Diamonds, a criminal with a penchant for jewelry. She made her TV debut on the Dumont series Gruen Playhouse in 1952. Jones appeared in multiple episodes of Dragnet starring Jack Webb from 1953-1955, credited as Caroline Jones. She featured in 2 syndicated series alongside Rod Cameron, City Detective and State Trooper, playing Betty Fowler in the 1956 episode The Paperhanger of Pioche. Jones exchanged vows 4 times and did not have any children. While attending the Pasadena Playhouse, she tied the knot with Don Donaldson, a 28-year-old fellow student. The marriage ended in divorce shortly after. Upon marrying Aaron Spelling, she converted to Judaism. Their marriage lasted from 1953 until their separation and divorce in 1964. Her third marriage in 1968 was to Tony Award-winning Broadway musical director, vocal arranger, and co-producer Herbert Green. She left him in 1977. Jones secured the role of the influential political matriarch, Myrna Clegg, in the CBS daytime soap opera Capital in 1981. Shortly after Capital debuted, she was diagnosed with colon cancer in the following year and portrayed many scenes in a wheelchair. The cancer rapidly spread to her liver and stomach. Despite experiencing severe pain, Jones completed the first season. In July 1983, she lapsed into a coma at her residence in West Hollywood, California, where she passed away on August 3rd. David Wayne as the Mad Hatter. A formally attired antagonist fixated on amassing a collection of hats. In movies, Wayne frequently portrayed supporting characters, such as the debonair scoundrel and neighbor of Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn's roles in Adam's Rib, 1949. Wayne gained recognition for his portrayal of Dr. Charles Dutton in Michael Crichton's The Andromeda Strain, 1971. Additionally, he took on the role of Uncle Timothy Jameson in the NBC sitcom The Brian Keith Show and portrayed Charles Dutton in The Good Life, also on NBC. Wayne made a guest appearance in a prominent role for a 1975 episode of Gunsmoke titled I Have Promises to Keep. He co-starred alongside Jim Hutton in the 1976 TV series Ellery Queen. Wayne tied the knot with Jane Gordon in 1941 and had 2 daughters, Susan Wayne Kearney and Melinda Wayne, as well as one son, Timothy. In August 1970, Timothy went missing and was presumed to have drowned during a rafting excursion. Wayne's spouse, the daughter of opera singer Jean Gordon, passed away in 1993. On February 9, 1995, Wayne passed away in his residence in Santa Monica, California, due to complications of lung cancer at the age of 81. George Sanders as Mr. Freeze. a deranged scientist who, following exposure to a freezing solution, now requires below-zero temperatures for survival. His preferred weapon is a freeze ray gun, capable of solidifying its target in ice. In his initial appearance, the gun could also emit a heat or incendiary beam. Sanders acquired singing skills and secured a role on stage in Ballyhoo, a production with a brief run but pivotal in establishing his acting career. He commenced regular work on the British stage, featuring alongside Edna Best on multiple occasions. He starred alongside Dennis King in The Command performance. Sanders journeyed to New York to participate in a Broadway production of Noel Coward's conversation piece, 1934, under Coward's direction, although the show lasted only 55 performances. On April 23, 1972, Sanders registered at a hotel in Castelldefels, a seaside town near Barcelona, where he contacted his friend George Miquel. 2 days after ingesting the contents of 5 bottles of the barbiturate Nembutal, he passed away from cardiac arrest. David Niven recounted in Bring On the Empty Horses, 1975, the second installment of his memoirs, that in 1937, his acquaintance George Sanders had foretold his own demise by barbiturate overdose at age 65, and that during his 50s he had appeared despondent due to failed marriages and various personal tragedies. Victor Buono as King Tut, an Egyptologist who developed a dual personality after sustaining a head injury during a student demonstration. Whenever he experiences a blow to the head, he alternates between the personas of a college professor and a reincarnation of the ancient Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. Following the success of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Buono made a sudden appearance in Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte, 1964, as Big Sam Hollis, the father of Bette Davis, who starred in the titular role. The movie was also helmed by Aldrich. In the biblical epic The Greatest Story Ever Told, 1965, Buono took on the role of the high priest Sorak, and in The Strangler, a film inspired by the real-life Boston Strangler murders of the era, he portrayed Leo Kroll. In 1980, Buono featured in the TV movie Murder Can Hurt You as Chief Ironbottom, a spoof of the protagonist from Ironside. His later characters tended to be arrogant intellectuals and dubious individuals, although he also took on serious roles. In the miniseries Backstairs at the White House, 1979, he depicted President William Howard Taft. Buono was discovered deceased at his residence in Apple Valley, California on New Year's Day, 1982. He passed away due to a heart attack. Burt Ward as Robin. Holy cast credits, Batman. Robin, the boy wonder, was Batman's trusty sidekick, famous for injecting phrases like, "Holy atomic pile, Batman." Indeed, Robin rattled off 352 of those holy expressions. Which one tickled your fancy the most? Burt himself was somewhat of a marvel in real life, evolving into a versatile athlete and the Globe's quickest reader. He even demonstrated his prowess before the American Medical Society, devouring text at a mind-boggling 30,000 words per minute with 90% comprehension. Compare that to the average rate of 240 words and 40% understanding, and it's undeniably remarkable. His expertise in martial arts fostered a bond with Bruce Lee, and naturally, his portrayal as Robin marked Burt's maiden foray into acting. He executed all his stunts as well, often landing himself in the emergency room. Besides lending his voice to Robin in animated series, he resurfaced to perform in over 40 made-for-TV movies, including 1991's Virgin High and the woefully infamous Beach Babes from Beyond. The most recent glimpse of Burt gracing the screen was when he revisited his role as Dick Grayson in a 2019 episode of Supergirl. Ward, now 78 years old, was duly honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2020. Yet regardless of the array of B-movies under his belt, he'll forever remain our enduring boy wonder. It was undeniably an outstanding ensemble that breathed such vibrant life into a franchise that endures till present. Granted, We've recently witnessed the emergence of the Batman starring Robert Pattinson as the titular character, but perhaps none of it would have materialized if the original hadn't been so explosively impactful with its BAMs and POWs. So, which Batman character left the greatest impression on you? Does any subsequent portrayal of Batman or the Joker surpass the originals? Is it Keaton's Batman or Heath Ledger's Joker? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching and goodbye.